What's up, everybody? I'm Evan Strange, and today we're going to install this JVC aftermarket radio into this 2003 Toyota Highlander. Let's get started. Alright, so firstly, let's go over all the products that we have, all the products that you're going to need, and then we'll get into actually how to uninstall this factory radio and install the aftermarket radio into the 2003 Toyota Highlander. Alright, so let's go over what you need. First thing you need, a Toyota Highlander. Preferably the 2003, like I'm working on. Next up, you'll want your aftermarket radio. I've got a JVC KD-HDR30 here. Only reason I have it is because it has iPod capability. I think it either came in one of the used cars that I bought, or I bought it on Craigslist for real cheap, probably like 40 bucks. Any kind of aftermarket head unit that you're going to be doing, whether it's a single DIN or a double DIN, being a full-size screen or a flip-out screen, you're going to need an aftermarket radio in order to install it in the car. Next up, you'll need a wiring harness to connect the radio to the factory connections that are already in the car. I went to Walmart and got mine. This one is a Scosche for the 2003 Toyota Highlander. It is model TA021. This is what the connectors look like outside of the package for the radio wire harness. You have these white plastic plugs here that actually clip into the plugs, and then you have all of the wires that you actually have to connect to the radio to get your sound output and your power and all that fun stuff. The next piece of equipment you need is going to be your stereo install kit, or some people call it the dash kit. Again, I went to Walmart and got my Scosche one, model number UI3025. Works for Toyota Imports 82 to 07. Again, working on 2003 Toyota Highlander. When you take your dash kit out of the package, you're going to have items like this. You should have an installation guide. If you're doing a single DIN radio, you're going to have a pocket, as well as some possible mounts, as shown here. And then you're going to have your actual radio trim and possibly a faceplate. Might even came with a little bag of hardware, some new screws. This is going to help you cover up the void of the hole that you're going to have here when you remove the radio. Dash kits are generally necessary for most cars. Look at your own vehicle application if you're going to work on other vehicles aside from the one specified in this video, and figure out if you need a dash kit and where you can get it from, such as Scosche or Metro. Now, there will also be some other tools and hardware that you're going to need, and we're going to go over that now. First thing you're going to need is going to be some crimp caps to connect your electrical connections. You got to connect your radio to your OEM harnesses, as I mentioned before. You're going to have a wiring harness, like this thing, and then you're going to have the other side of the aftermarket radio that you're going to have to connect. When you get done with it, it should look something like this. Here we have the previous harness on the left side from my 2004 Subaru Forester that I pulled the radio from, and the right side is the part that connects to the aftermarket radio. I like to use crimp caps. Some people don't. Some people solder. Some people just tape it. Some people use butt connectors. Figure out what you like. Do your own research on why. I'm sticking with crimp caps. You don't like it? Find your own method. The last thing you need to do the job are going to be all the right tools. Starting left to right on the bottom left corner, we have the yellow handled wire strippers. Those are going to take the rubber material off the wire to get you the bare metal so you can make your connections. To the right of them, we have wire crimpers, the black handle. The two black handle small pieces beneath that are Pic Tools, so we can get various things off, such as harnesses and connectors. The large black and red handle is a metal panel popper. The blue ones are plastic panel poppers. Those will help get your radio trim off. And then finally on the top left, we have ourselves a basic toolkit here. We've got different screwdriver fittings, different sockets, and the wrench and the screwdriver attachment to go with it. So with that in mind, let's get this bad Larry out. So number one, the first step you want to do is look up what you're doing, because I haven't done one of these cars yet. So, congrats if you're watching this video, because you already made the right step. I'm pretty sure for this vehicle, all that needs to come off is this plastic trim around the radio here. What I'm going to try and do to get that off is use one of my blue plastic panel pop tools that I have to try and pry some of that off and see if it lightly comes off nice and easy. And if that's the case, and I'm going to keep going until I get it off and disconnect some harnesses on the back. If it's not starting to come off easy, I'm going to take a break and look up how to get this dash off so I can finish making this video for you. Alright, see how easy it is to get the panel poppers under these? Just slip them under. Oh, it sounded like it was releasing. I'm not sure in the correct manner or not, but it's definitely loosening up. Alright, so the bottom seems to come out pretty easy. The top is in here. Like, that does not want to pop out. At least not nicely on its own. It's really hard to get in between the trim up here. And it seems like from this side, I can get behind it pretty easy. Oh, here we go. We got some play in the top left. That gives us room in the top right. And there we are. Didn't even have to take off any buttons or anything. Craziness. So that is just the radio trim. And all I had to use was one of these panel popper tools. So the next thing we want to do, we want to figure out how to get the radio out itself. Now, looking here at this dash, it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts that I need to undo in order to get this whole panel to come out. And then once I get this panel out, I can take just the radio out itself. I'm going to guess that they're 10 mil bolts because this is a Japanese car and that's pretty common. So I'm going to get my 10 mil and get those out. Alright, so I've got a 10 millimeter on my screwdriver extension, which I actually got a nice one. This is a Husky tool. I forget where I got it, but it's got the extendable neck to get deep in the dash there. Sometimes these things are really recessed back. Starting in the middle on the left. As I guessed, 10 mil was right. Now, another thing I should have noted, you know, some people thoroughly like their dashes. Some people are really clumsy. I don't care so much about mine. Also, I feel like I'm not super clumsy. Some people will cover all of this area here around the car with a sheet, or not really a sheet, but like a blanket or some kind of thick fabric. That way nothing gets messed up in case you drop anything on it. I used to do car radio installs when I was working on other customers' cars. I totally would cover all that up because I didn't want to mess up their own vehicle. However, my own vehicle, and with my confidence in myself, at least, I don't care so much. Make sure to keep all of your bolts separately aside somewhere. I'm going to use my nice little change holder there. So we got the middle left. We're going to do the top left now. And these are some pretty long bolts. Another thing that might be good is a telescoping magnet, because sometimes you drop things in the dash. That happens. Hopefully you drop metal things in the dash that you can get out with a magnet, because if you drop plastic things in there, you're kind of screwed. Bottom left, next one to come out. Alright, now all the right side. I'm going to start with the top right. Middle right. And now we have the bottom right, lastly. Alright, so now we have all of our bolts out. We should be able to just take this here, pull it out, nice and easy, just like I was hoping for. Now, on the back of this, you are going to have some things plugged in. We have the radio antenna, this long black cable here. You can just pull back straight on that, and that should come right out. Next things you're going to have, you've got all your HVAC controls here. Those harnesses are going to be on the top behind them. We're going to disconnect those. Now, there's a couple of them. There's 3 for just the HVACs. Alright, and then last but not least, we have the radio. And the radio harnesses. I'm going to place this down here. You got 2 harnesses for the radio. Oh, nice Subaru just went by. And now we have this whole panel out. Now the harnesses I was referring to, you've got 1, 2, 3 up here for the HVAC. 1, 2, 3 down here for the radio. And then the antenna, of course, in the corner. So now to get the radio out itself, we need to undo these bolts here on the side brackets, and then we'll be able to slide the radio out of this whole panel, leaving us with just the plastic and the HVAC controls. So that's next. Alright, so as I mentioned, we're going to have to get these bolts out on the side to get these brackets loose so we can slide the radio out and put our new radio in. These are 8mm bolts here to get these brackets off the side. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws from what I can tell on each side. So I'm going to take care of that real quick and then you'll see my finished product. Alright, so we've got the radio. We've taken off the bolts on the side for the brackets. Now we need to get the radio out. We're simply going to take this bottom piece, pull up, that detaches right there. Slide our radio out. Now we have a radio and a dash panel, ready for an aftermarket radio. Alright, so it's at this point in time, I like to take the radio itself and your wiring harness and pre-wire the radio. Usually I do this before the installation, that way I can just pop the radio in once you have the dash out, all open and nice like this. You don't have to do it. Mine currently is not wired yet, so I'm going to wire that. And I'm going to show you very quickly how to go about doing it. Maybe a little trick on how I remember how to do it as well too. Alright, so at this point we're going to go ahead and wire up the radio. I've got my previous radio harness here. This black side here is the side that connects to the radio. The white side that was connected to the Subaru. And then I have my Toyota harness. Got a paper towel down just to, collect some clip-ins and all that fun stuff. So let's get started on it. First thing you're going to want to do, if you're installing a deck that was previously installed somewhere, You want to get rid of all these crimp caps. Get rid of all the crimp caps here. And all your little zip ties and stuff too. So nobody really wants any of that jazz. Alright, so previous radio harness, we're going to get rid of all these little crimp caps here. Disconnect our previous zip ties, that way we can start everything fresh. And gonna make a mess. Be careful when you're doing this. Fair warning. Separation. So we've got the radio side, and then this is the side that was attached to my Subaru. So we're going to get rid of that, and then bring into the picture the Toyota harness. So let's wire that up. Alright, so we've got our two wiring harnesses here. Next thing we need to do, use our wire strippers, take some of the ends of the wires off, connect them. Then we're going to take our wonderful crimp caps that we checked out before, and then we're going to use our crimp tool that we just used to cut them off. And we're going to crimp the caps on. We're going to have ourselves a nice clean harness like we just took apart. Alright, so stripping wires. I'm sure you can look up videos on how to do this too, but you want to take your wire strippers. I usually start with the bottom somewhere, I guess, that being the largest one. Seeing that doesn't really take anything off the end. So I'm going to try the next setting. That one grips. Got a little bit of the end of the wire sticking out there. We're going to pull. And it looks like that one's not cutting deep enough into the wire. Oh, just barely. We got some copper off there. See? A little tiny bit. So, you want to do that for all your wires on this side, and then also all of the wires that are going to be on your radio connector. Once you have all those stripped, well, this side, luckily you don't have to. They come pre-stripped with the harness. Once you have those all stripped, we're going to twist the connections together and then lay on those crimp caps. So, I'm going to strip the rest of these, and then I will show you how to attach crimp caps. Alright, so, now, we're going to take this harness and start connecting these together. Now, pretty simple, you know, it's color coded, so you just need to connect the right colors here and everything should be good. I'm going to start with the gray-black wires because they're on the outside of each one of these harnesses here. And what we're going to do for right now is just tie them together. So you want to take your plain gray wire and your other plain gray wire. We're going to cross them. And we're going to twist them up. And that's that. And we're going to do that for all these. Again, color coded. When I'm done with it, I'll show you. Woo! Alright, so harness is all connected. As I mentioned, next step, crimp caps, crimp tool, onto the harness. Here we go. Alright, take one of your crimp caps. We're going to take the wire, insert wire into crimp cap, as seen here, preferably as far in as you can. Take our crimping tool. There's a little metal area right here that you can see. It's lined up with the tool. You've got the little notch right here in the tool. We're going to insert the crimp into the notch, line up the metal piece, give it a good squoze in. I did mine so tight I can't even get my crimp out. Here we go. Crimp cap. And you want to double check it, get a little tug. And that's it. So we're going to do that for all these here. And then once they're all crimp cap, I'm going to take some little zip ties, like these, tie up the harness, and make it look nice. Alright, so we last left off inside. I just got done crimping up all the connections up here, zip tying my connections here. Next part is going to be connecting this to the radio, and then getting the radio installed into our dash kit, which is next to come. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the pieces of our dash kit, put those together. We've got little holes here on the pocket. There's a couple little plastic dowel-like pieces. We're going to line those up. Those popping together. Voila, we got a pocket. Next, the radio is going to end up going up in here. So we're going to take our radio. We're going to size that up in here. Mount that up nicely. It would be something like that. So we'll look something like this when we're done. So now how this works, all of this needs to slide back into the factory location where the radio would be. A little something like this. Here we go. That's in there. We got the radio. That's essentially what our finished product's kind of going to look like once it's all back in the dash. So now that we've got that clipped in, we need to put those screws back in the side of the radio that we took out of the factory radio. Either you can use the factory screws or you can try and use some of the hardware that came. You may also end up needing to go to the hardware store and get specific hardware. So I'm going to mount those up now, and then I'll show you what that looks like, and then we'll get this into the dash. Alright, one thing I just noticed, the tabs that come with my kit, I didn't realize that they go on the side of the pocket here. In here, that way these can line up so you can attach the other screws so the pocket isn't just jiggling, hanging around. So don't forget to do that. Alright, so last left off, getting the radio in the dash kit in here, into the dash. Fits alright. I've had better kits in the past. Got one of the bolts in on the side over here. Now I'm just trying to figure out how these tabs work on the side for the pocket so I can get those to line up. And those will be okay. And then this bad Larry's going in the dash. Alright, we're making progress. So we got the pocket tabs in on the side, and these little screws go in on the side there. I need to go find a little screwdriver to get those in. Then the radio's going to go in. Then this is going in the dash. And that's that. Screws have been attached to the side of the pocket. Now we got to get that radio up in there. Alright, radio slid in through the back. We're going to attach 2 bolts again to hold the radio itself in place, and then we'll have our finished product. Alright, so we've got a dash kit installed, we got our pocket in, we got our radio in, we got everything bolted up nicely on the side here. We need to put our harness in the back, right here. Ta-da! And that's good to go. So the next step I'm going to do, because my radio has my iPod interface stuff, I'm going to hide this somewhere behind the dash and run the cable to wherever I want my iPod to be, and zip tie it up. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to show you the radio going back in the dash and what the finished product looked like. Alright, so I got my iPod interface mounted up here. Now all we have left to do is reconnect everything to the back here and get the dash back in. I might fast forward or not leave all this in because my camera's starting to die, so bear with me please. Alright, so I'm going to try and do all the radio stuff down at the bottom first, and then connect all the factory stuff up here at the top. So firstly, I've got my iPod connectivity. That's going to go. Got my antenna. That's going back in. Now, here's the fun part. I got a whole bunch of harnesses that I need to figure out. Looks like that one goes there. That one goes there. So that must mean this one goes here. which then means these go to the radio. So these two harnesses are going to be what you want to plug in your radio harnesses with. Here. That's new. Harnesses never had these little protector cover things in them before to pop out. I guess it makes sense. That way nothing gets touched. That doesn't need to be touched. Hey, look at that. That one connected. And so did that one. Awesomeness, right? Again, we have our antenna plugged in. Our iPod connectivity. We got all the HVAC stuff plugged back in. And then we got the radio plugged in. So now, we're going to go about inserting all of this nicely back into the dash. The bottom's got to go first. Then the top. There we go. We line up all the holes on our little tabs here again. We can see we're already starting to come back together now. Wonderful. Now we want those long screws that we had at the beginning, the 10 mils. We're going to pop some 10 mils back in. We're going to put that radio trim back on. We're going to have ourselves a baller looking radio. We got 6 bolts to do. Unlimited time with the camera dying. It's still going for right now. I'm trying to beat the clock. I wouldn't recommend rushing like I am right now, because then you miss things and you got to take apart the dash again, and it's just not fun. It's just not a good time. Actually, what I should do right now, what I'd recommend that you do, since there's nothing else connected to the plastic radio trim that I already have off, I should turn this on now and ensure that everything works. Well, let's try that real quick. Our radio's turning on. Our HVAC was on. Playing some Dope Ghost. That's what's up. Check out Dope Ghost. They're a good band. So we got startup. We've got sound. We've got 2 more bolts and some plastic trim, and then we're done. All right, last bolt. Here we go. Boom. Plastic trim. Back on. Again, we're going to line up our tabs where we can. Pop it in. Seems like the top likes to go in first. Then the bottom. And there we are. Our finished radio install. Here we go. Finished product. 2003 Toyota Highlander.